So we'll do this at the very top. Recent tweets is going to be equal to get post metadata. Now note, this is a similar functionality to what we have here. Here we're adding it. Here, we're retrieving it. If we wanted to delete it, we would call delete post meta. Once again, we pass in those three parameters, the ID of the post. Next, we need the identifier. So I will copy and paste that in, and there we go. Now again, because we're getting the post ID, let's make sure that it's available to us. So we'll do global. So now let's try this out. Let's print our recent tweets, and let's die, because all we want to see is what comes out from that. Refresh the page. And we have a quick syntax error on line 33. And of course, it's because I have an incorrect $sign there. One more time, and this is what we're getting. Now, if I load this page, I want you to take note of something. It seems that we have all of these items. How come? Why is this happening over and over? Shouldn't there just be one set? And it's because if we scroll down, we're adding post meta, and we keep adding and adding and adding to it. We could call update, or we could pass an optional fourth parameter, and that is a Boolean, which indicates whether it should always be unique. And I'm going to pass true as the fourth parameter. Again, alternatively, we could use update post meta. So now let's go ahead and reset this. So what we can do here is copy that and call delete post meta. And what this is going to do is it's going to remove anything attached to that key, so we can start from scratch. Refresh, and now if we get rid of it, run it again, we have one set of tweets. And if we refresh the page, it should be new every time. Every time I refresh the page, we have a unique set. Now this works, but we have to think about what if it's the very first time the page loads. In that case, there is nothing attached. So that is going to return nothing to recent tweets, and we're not going to have anything to filter through. So that's the next step, is finding out if it is set and whether or not it's been 10 minutes or more. So we're going to call a function to do it, because that is its own idea. And this function name will be called reset data. And we're going to pass in our recent tweets array as well as the tweet reset time, because that's the amount of time to cache. So let's run that right now. And remember, we can name these however we like, but I find keeping the same names helps me a bit. Now, again, we're going to be working with the post ID, so let's go ahead and fetch that. And next, let's first find out if recent tweets exists. But first, let's print R so we can see exactly what we're working with again. And I believe we called that reset data, right? Correct. This is what we have. It's an array. The first item in the array is an array as well, and that's because when you attach post meta, it gets all stored in its own array. So we have an array of arrays. So to access this, we would want to do the array 0, 1. Array 0, 1 is going to be equal to the tweets. Is set recent tweets 0, 1. Now we go just as easily to 0, 0 to find out if the minute. So if you want to do that one, that's fine too. This is equal to the current minute that the post was last attached. So if that is set, then we can work with it. Always make sure you have something to work with. Don't immediately assume that there will be data there. So let's first next deal with the delay. And the delay is going to be equal to recent tweets 0, 0 again, the moment that it was last updated, plus the tweet reset time. And again, if we want to be absolutely certain that we are dealing with an integer, we can double that up just in case, just to be sure. So what this is saying is, let's imagine that the post was last attached, those tweets were last attached to the metadata at 4:15. The delay is then going to be 15 plus 10. 25 is now equal to delay. And the next step is to find out if delay is less than or equal to the date, the current time. Once again, we did this function before. And let's make sure we bind that to an integer. If the delay is less than or equal to that, then we need to recache. So we'll say delete post meta ID JW recent tweets. So hopefully that makes sense. I know that can be a little bit confusing. Tweets is 35. So we're saying if the delay, if it's already in the past, meaning if the current time is later than 10 minutes after the post was last updated, okay, it's time to fetch new posts. So we call delete post meta. But I want you to think about it in terms of math rather than in terms of time. For example, the current time is 3:55. So let's imagine that the post was last attached at 55. Well, now we're going to add 10. So 55 plus 10 is not going to be 4:05, it's going to be 65. And 65 is not the correct time. Let's make sure we fix that really quickly. And we'll say if delay is greater than or equal to 60, then let's make sure that we compensate and we instead say delay minus equals 60. So now let's test that out. Let's say the current time in this case is 56 and the default reset time is 10. So now we're at 66. So now at this point, is delay greater than 60? Yes, because we have 366 when it really should be 406. So in that case, we take the delay and we subtract 60 from it. 66 minus 60 is now 6. So that takes care of the reset data. So we're doing quite a bit here. We're being smart. We've gotten post metadata. We've determined whether we need to fetch new data. So let's next wrap all of this code within an if statement. If no cache, fetch new tweets. And we can do that by running if empty recent tweets. And then we'll go all the way down right here. Don't worry, we're going to go over every bit of this. So let's imagine the page loads for the very first time ever. Recent tweets equals get post meta, but there's nothing attached to it yet. It's never happened. So recent tweets is empty. It's null. It's an empty string. So we're checking that. If it's empty, all right, well, we need to fill that up. So we run curl and we grab the recent tweets. We cache them, which attaches that post meta. And then finally, we return recent tweets. But now the page loads the second time, and this time it's going to run differently. Now we're going to call recent tweets. We're going to get post meta. There is going to be something stored, so that gets assigned to recent tweets. Then we come down here. Is recent tweets empty? No, it's not. So none of this code runs. We don't have to do that extra request. And then we come down and we return recent tweets. So let's test this out right now. We're going to start from scratch. So once again, at the very top, I'm going to delete this and die. That way we can know we're having a very fresh example. And we're getting an unexpected error, and that's just a missing closing paren. Okay, so now we've successfully deleted any post meta information that's attached. So I will get rid of that entirely. And now we're going to try it out from scratch. And what we're seeing here is this array. So maybe we're printing something out. And sure enough, we are. But we have our post, then we have our tweets as expected. So now we're going to refresh the page, and there's already going to be meta information stored. So if I hit refresh, notice that it's loading much more quickly, but it looks like those tweets aren't being displayed. So let's try that out. Right here, let's print our recent tweets, because maybe something is changing. And sure enough, if we come here, now can we see we have an array. So we want to go to the array 0, 1. But here, we just have recent tweets 1 because it's set up differently. In one case, we're displaying the fragment, and in the next case, we're displaying the fragment that was stored within an array in the database. So now we need to check for that, and we can do that quite easily. And we'll say we'll return isSet recent tweets 0, 1. Does that even exist? If it does, then we know that's what we need to return. On the other hand, if that doesn't exist, we're dealing with this initial case where we just have the fragment. And in that case, we'll just return it like so. Refresh, and now we're getting it. But notice it's loading much more quickly. Let's test this out. I'm going to open up a Twitter client, and I've created this new account called Course Testing. So let's change the username to Course Testing, and I'm going to refresh this page. And notice that it's still loading the old tweets. And that's because even though we've changed the account name, we're still displaying from the cache data. So there's a couple of options we could do here. One would be to check for this to see if the account is different. Another one would be to simply wait 10 minutes. Most people won't be changing their Twitter account often. The last option would be to quickly delete the post meta information. And for this demo, I think that's fine enough. So we will delete that and die. Get rid of it, and now we have a fresh attempt. Run the page, it goes to the Twitter API, and it grabs the tweets. And sure enough, you can see right here. Now when I refresh the page, it loads much more quickly because we aren't grabbing from the Twitter API. Let's try this. 4th tweet. Even though that's been added, I'm going to refresh. You're not going to see anything until it's been 10 minutes. So what I'll do right now is I'm going to pause for a full 10 minutes so that you can see that take effect. I'll be right back. It's now been 10 minutes, so if I refresh the page, our script should detect that it's been more than 10 minutes since the last update, and it should bring in the latest tweets, which will include 4th tweet. And sure enough, if we scroll down, we are bringing in a new set, and if I refresh, we continue pulling from the cached tweets. And that's it. You've built a very helpful Twitter shortcode that not only caches, but provides the amount of flexibility to allow the user to update their name, modify the number of tweets to bring in, specify how often they need to fetch new tweets. This is quite flexible, and it's really easy thanks to the power of WordPress shortcodes.